Welcome to Getting Real with John Natale. I'm your host today, guys, for an unbelievable interview. This has to be one of my favorite interviews I've ever done here on Getting Real. You are going to be hearing from Kati Hoskins, who is a relatively early in her career, but has absolutely blown up on social media. We are talking about a massive following on Instagram, 15,000 followers she's grown to on Instagram, 4,200 subscribers plus on YouTube, over 2,000 followers on Facebook, over 5,500 followers on TikTok, and she's done it all in the last 6 to 9 months or so. Absolutely unbelievable growth. We are going to go through her story. It's a powerful one. She's got a very motivational story. She's lived a great life so far. She's living a great life. She's building a massive business. She's having fun with real estate. I'm excited for you guys to hear this conversation today. She's someone who is definitely going to be an inspiration and give you at least a handful of tactical things you can take back to your business, which is what I love about bringing guests on here to Getting Real. People doing the work today. You're not hearing stories from people that sold real estate 10, 15, 20 years ago, or even 5 years ago. You are hearing the stories of what is working right now today to get business. And Kati's story is a powerful one, and she is an unbelievable listen. I'm excited for you guys to hear this interview today. Before we dive in, though, I have to take a second to just thank you for listening to this podcast episode or watching us here on YouTube. Your support, you're just giving a few minutes of your time to watch, listen, learn everything that we're sharing means the world to me. If you could take it a step further and share this to your Instagram story, share this to your TikTok story, share it with a colleague, share it with a friend, and we could all grow together, that would mean just a little bit more to me, and I'd be just that little bit more appreciative of you. But I am so appreciative you're here, you're listening, you're tuning in, and you're looking to grow your real estate business. Here at Natale, we have a very simple mission. At Natale, at Getting Real, it is for less agents to fail and more to find the life of their dreams. By listening to this podcast, by sharing the message, sharing it with others, you are continuing that mission on. We do not have ads. We do not have sponsors. I do not get a dollar from this podcast. I give all this away for free. All these interviews, these guests, everybody does this for free. Our hope is, our mission is for less agents to fail and more agents to find the life of their dreams. So by sharing this message, you just continue that mission. If you are here in the state of New Jersey and you're looking for a dynamic real estate company to join, we have a great 100% commission model for agents here in New Jersey. Grow your brand under our umbrella, get 100% commission, and grow something substantial here in New Jersey. This is the company for you. There's a link below to book a call with me. It is super simple, guys. Hop down there if you're here in New Jersey and you want to discuss joining us here at Natale. If you're in one of the other 49 states or across the world at this point, if you want to grow a big real estate business, if you want to become an attraction magnet, if you want to become the local expert of choice, if you want to grow a personal brand, if you want to have more fun selling real estate, if you want to enjoy your time with family more and more, Natale Coaching is for you. There is a link below to our website, natalecoaching.com. You can look at all the information about what we do. You can book your discovery call with me, and we can discuss how we are going to help you grow your real estate business at the end of 2025, because we're already halfway through the year, into 2026. I would love to have that conversation with you. All you have to do is book your call today. It's free. There's no obligation. Let's just talk about some of your options. But now, guys, let's dive in to this unbelievable interview with Kati Hoskins right there in central Indiana. All right, guys, like I said, today we have one of probably the fastest rising real estate stars in the entire state of Indiana. She is absolutely crushing it right now with her personal brand, with social media, with everything she is doing. She's absolutely on fire. Kati Hoskins, welcome to Getting Real.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. And we're excited for this conversation today. And I'm going to, like I said in my intro, guys, let's just repeat this. We have 15,000 followers on Instagram. We have 5,500 followers on TikTok. We have over 2,000 on Facebook. We have 4,200 subscribers on YouTube. This person you're listening to today has done all of this within the last 9 months, within the last year for sure. So she's definitely someone you're going to want to hear. One, her story. We're going to talk about that first. And she's definitely someone you're going to want to hear when we talk tactical advice about growing your personal brand here in 2025. But Katie, we're excited to have this conversation. Tell me a little bit first of your story getting into real estate. How long you've been doing this and kind of like what brought you into real estate?
Yeah, so I'm actually entering my third year. And prior to being in real estate, I went to college. I got my bachelor's degree in business management, started working in corporate leadership, and most recently was a district manager for Starbucks. And really felt like I loved the role. As time was going on, my capacity and leadership ability was growing, but so were my responsibilities. And it was to the detriment of my own health, my personal relationships, and really everything around me. And so I knew something had to change. And then insert one of my childhood friends who is now my managing broker. And he frequented Starbucks almost every single day. And he would come in and he would say, what are you doing here? You're such a hard worker. He would gas me up about real estate, tell me all the great things about it, and really pushed me to take a chance on myself. And so that's really how I started in real estate and never looked back.
That's a phenomenal start. So you were doing very well, I'm guessing, within the Starbucks organization, the company. You said district manager. So
Uh huh. Yes, sir.
how many employees or like how many stores did you manage? Like what did that look like for you in terms of like a management and leadership side?
Yeah, it was 10 stores and 500 direct
That's a lot of
reports.
people.
A
So
lot of
no,
work.
that makes a lot
Yeah.
of sense. So we had this, almost not necessarily corporate job, but we worked in within a corporation. A guy comes in, a good
hmm
friend of yours says, "Let's start some real estate." What were you thinking when you first started? Give us like what was going through Katie's mind that first month when you went from a normal pay, normal job to now being in the wild world of real estate?
Yeah. Well, really excited. Knew that I worked really hard. So I knew that my output would directly correlate to my input, right? And so I was really excited about that, but also really nervous. I had a really comfortable six-figure job and then decided to jump into real estate, and we all know that you don't know when the next time you're going to eat. So I was really nervous about that, but really excited to see
And
what
how
I could
were
do.
things like early on? Like, because obviously 3 years ago, so I'm like when I was 2021 into 2022, market was still doing fairly
Mhm.
well. What did that look like for you early on? Like, what
Yeah.
did the first 6 months success wise look for you?
So I feel like I had kind of a unicorn experience in real estate because I know when you first go into real estate, everyone says, like, make sure your savings, you have enough for 6 months and you're probably not going to get something in the first year. So I was really prepared for that, but I was also really bright eyed, bushy tailed. I came out of the gate swinging. And so I worked really hard to get those first transactions. And I had an extremely successful first 6 months. I mean, my first month, I closed my first deal. So it was almost like 21 days after I became a real estate agent, I closed on my first deal. So that was really cool. Very unicorn experience, like I said. So I'm grateful.
Where did that deal come from, and where did some of those like that first 6 months? Where did some of those deals come from?
Yeah, so a lot of my early success was due to the support of my managing broker. So we get house leads through our brokerage, and my first lead, my first close was actually through him. And he had a listing in our town. Someone called on the sign, and so he called me and he said, "Hey, you're a real estate agent. Run it down." And I called them, and they were moving here from out of state. They were ready to go. They were already pre approved. I mean, I didn't have to do any of the legwork really. And so I that day stopped at a local orchard. I got them some like local goodies and took it to them, showed them one house, and we closed like
That's
14
a
days
that's a
later. So
beautiful first few weeks. Yeah,
it was
that's
a beautiful
fantastic. No, and
story.
that's great. That's
Yeah.
I think that's also a testament,
Yeah.
guys. One thing I'm hearing in there too is the right broker can really help you early on. We've moved to this world where brokers
Yeah.
don't matter. Let's all just cut to the chase. Like our broker doesn't talk to us, we're not going to talk to them. But in Katie's example right there, and someone who does own a brokerage here in New Jersey, it does show like the right broker can help you get started, and that's important. So we did a few deals. Our managing broker helped us a lot get started. That's great. After those first 6 months went by, what did things start to look like already for you? Because you're closing deals. Did we start to look at this as more of a business, or
hmm
were we still just going transaction to transaction? How did that go for you?
If I am 100% transparent and honest, I was kind of just hanging on by the seat of my pants, right? Like the first 6 months, I had a lot of success right up front. Again, go back to everyone saying like real estate is kind of a build up business. And so, you know, you're going to see more and more success as time goes on. So when I saw really early success in those first 6 months, I thought, oh my gosh, this is great. This is so easy. I'm going to keep this momentum going. And I didn't. Right. So, like, the first year was really good. And then I kind of just, sat back. And the second year, I definitely saw a little bit of difference in my transactions because of that, because I was more relaxed or took my foot off the gas a little bit. And so that's why I am where I am today, right? My third year, I decided to really buckle down. I hired a coach, got serious about social media, and now the transactions are ramping back up. So it's really a direct correlation
100%.
to your
That's
output.
You actually answered what my next question was going to be of like what. So we realized like, all right, we're having success. That our foot came off the gas
Hmm.
pedal, and then we kind of just said, all right, you know what? I realize like I'm successful if my foot is on the gas pedal, which is it has to be in real estate. And at honestly all times, like there's gonna be seasons of your life, phases of your life that things like ease off. You go through tragedies, you go through different things. You got to battle. You get sick. Your kids get sick. Like all different things happen in life. But at the same time, the general theme is if you put yourself out there more, you will get more in return. Right. So
Absolutely.
for you, Katie, about like I said, 9 months ago, social media became your thing. We're gonna get into that. We're gonna get into like the
Hmm.
tactical, what you've built, especially on the four big platforms. On last week's podcast episode, I talk about those four big platforms, and you are the reason I'm hyped about you now being the first interview after that episode is the fact that you're someone who has grown on all four, and you kind of bucked the trend that I talk about in that episode where I say go to do one platform for 3 months, go do another platform for 3 months, and then like a year later you wake up and you would have learned and figured out four. You kind of grew on all four at the at the same time. But before we get there, let's talk about some things so far in real estate, right? Let's do bad before positive. What was one of the biggest mistakes you've made so far in real estate?
Mm. I've made a couple, but I would say a good story, a good mistake that is a good lesson for other people that are just getting into real estate is, taking it back to when I first started and I saw a lot of success right up front. I was probably month 3 or 4 and had a month where I made $40,000. And I had never dreamed or fathomed of money like that in my life. I've made $40,000 obviously, but never in 30 days span. And so I went out naturally. I bought a boat with cash and I was just sure, every month is going to be like this or better from now on. And so went out, just made some mistakes financially, right? Didn't invest back into my business. And then I spent the next month on my boat with high noons in hand and, really had my foot on the brakes as far as my business is concerned. And so I suffered from that. So the next 2, 3 months, I had no one in my pipeline. I wasn't closing deals. And so all of a sudden, that $40,000 from 1 month turned into $40,000 in 4 months, right? Which is still respectable, but not what I was expecting. So I think it's really important to keep your eyes on the prize, know that every month is not going to be this way. There are seasons, like you said, in real estate. Some are really great and some aren't as great. So it's important to invest back into yourself versus just spending every dollar, right? Saving for taxes, those sort of things, and just not
That must
losing
have been
sight of
an
the goal.
epic month on a brand new boat. And
It
I'm a
was. It
naturally
was.
I wouldn't necessarily say frugal person, but like I live so far. Like my wife and I, we live so far below our means. It's actually kind of crazy. But I always kind of envy people that just take a great month like that. Now this is also a few years ago, but also Katie's in Central Indiana, so $40,000 for here. That's at the Jersey Shore. That might be one commission check, right? It's kind of normal now, but her price point is typically a lot lower. We're actually going to talk about how we've increased that over time, but that's a really good month in Central Indiana. Right, that's not that's not
Yeah.
$40,000 in New Jersey's in New Jersey's world. Yes, so
Right.
so that's
Two different
impressive.
beasts. Yeah.
And it's an impressive mistake to make. And you know what? I'm glad you made it in month four and not, and kind of learned your lesson quickly, right? It's actually, as we're talking, I'm like, it's actually
Yeah.
quite remarkable. You've had a somewhat of like a long term real estate career in 3 years, where people typically have like a few good years. Then there's like a lull period. Sometimes they fall off and then they kind of build back up. And you've kind of done that in 3 years and learned from your mistakes. That's a really powerful thing. You should be proud of that. And anybody listening that's made that mistake, you should know that you can turn it around really quickly, but if you haven't had that $40,000 a month or $40,000 check come in, don't spend it all at once. Number one, number one, pay your taxes. Number two, put it back in your
Please.
business. Put 10% back, at least 10% back in your business. You'll be thanking yourself years later when $40,000 a month becomes $40,000 a week in your business. So that's a great mistake to make, and especially early on. Let's do positive. What's something on the positive side? What's your biggest win so far in real estate?
Well, I've had a couple. I would say yesterday something new actually happened that really made my day. We have something called Best of Hancock County, which is the county that I live in, and everyone gets on there and they nominate through the local newspaper their favorite in each category, right? So favorite gas station, favorite restaurant, that sort of thing. And I was actually nominated for Best of Hancock County in the real estate section, so I was really excited about that. That was a big win for me. And that really goes back to my favorite wins in real estate are when somebody refers me. When someone trusts me enough to say my name to someone else, someone that they trust and love, that means the world to me. And so anytime that happens, or anytime someone reaches out on social media and they want to work with me, it's not like they got on Zillow and they just wanted an agent. They wanted me. And that feels so great. And that makes me feel like I'm in the right place and I'm doing the right thing and the right work. So that's probably my biggest
That's
wins.
well, number one, we're gonna make sure you not only get nominated, we're gonna make sure you win that award. And that's what, and also too having,
Yeah.
cumulatively, I'm just doing the math. I'm looking at them right now. 20, 25, 20, almost 27,000 followers and subscribers, pushing that to your audience that you built again over the last 9 months. We're gonna get into this. I know I keep getting that. I'm almost like foreshadowing how great that how foreshadowing how great
You're
this advice
excited.
is
I
going to
love
be.
it.
But
Yeah.
using that to get not only in the nomination, but also let's go out and win the damn thing, because you really are. I see how you put it into your
Yeah.
business, how much you care about your clients, how much you fight for them. I wouldn't doubt that even as a year 3 agent there in Indiana, you could be the best in your county. So that's fantastic. So like I just mentioned, I know how hard you work for clients. Here's another question for you in
Mhm.
terms of like caring about clients or just wanting to succeed, the desire to succeed. What do you think drives you to succeed?
I would say me, me versus me. I always grew up very competitive and without saying nothing's good enough because I don't mean it that way, but I always wake up every day and I want to be better than I was yesterday, last month, last year, and that is truly a me versus me thing, and so that continues to push me and drive me for success.
That makes a lot of sense. Is there anything? Do you think there's anything from your childhood or your past that like gave you that? Because that's not a skill. Like, is there anything that gave you that skill, or is it just something you always had, even from when the day you were born?
I would say a couple things contributed to that. Number one, I came from a really large family. So I have six brothers and sisters. So a lot of competition in the house, right? Trying to get our parents' attention. My dad kind of goes with the motto of, if you ain't first, you're last. Right. So we grew up really pushing and trying to be better every day. And then I would say the other thing that really shaped me is having cancer. So when I was 25, I was diagnosed with cancer and was told that I had a 75% chance of dying in the next 5 years, which that was over 10 years ago. So we're good. But what it did was it gave me a zest for life like I've never had, like I never experienced or even thought of. And I don't spend a day doing things that I don't love because I know that this life is so short. And so that has really helped me to maximize every single day, every single minute, because we don't get that many. So,
That's a really powerful thing to say, to mention, and to bring up here. And I think that does, from knowing you, and I think actually just hearing you talk in this interview, I'm hoping it gets through what your personality is like, because you do actually carry that with you, and that's a great way so many people would love to live. But sometimes you have to go through hell in order to actually feel it, right? And that's a great thing.
yeah.
How does that play for you on like a day-to-day basis? Like how do you pull out like the zest for life? Like if someone's like, you know what, I've been feeling lethargic lately, feel like this, but obviously I don't want to go through hell like Katie did. What is something that like happens on your day-to-day basis that pulls you back to that?
I would say one thing that has really changed my perspective every day, even when I have hard days, because I still have them, is waking up and immediately writing down 3 reasons why I'm grateful. That really, really helps change your mindset, even on the worst days, because You will get beat down no matter what happens, no matter what you experience in life. And I think just remembering that even the smallest things that you're grateful for really changes your mindset throughout the day.
I love that. That's fantastic advice. Does anything scare you about your career in real estate?
Yes. I would say the most raw answer really is failure, right? Like no one wants to fail. And that's another statistic that they always tell you when you get into real estate is that 87% of realtors don't make it, past 5 years. And so that has always kind of loomed in the back of my mind is what if I fail, right? And we've talked about it in this podcast already about how when you take your feet off the gas, your business will suffer. And so there are times in life and seasons in life when you have to go a little bit slower in your business and you have to be okay with that. So, because it's forever changing and nothing is ever guaranteed, like I've had transactions where the buyer walked away the day before close because they changed their mind, right? So, like, nothing is certain. And again, you don't know when the next time you're going to eat is. And so, I think, failure is always kind of that little nagging thought in the back of your mind. So,
That makes a lot of sense. And when it comes to it comes to your local market, I always ask agents this in these interviews. Do you feel like you are the best option for people? Like if someone has a house to sell, it's a tough sell. Do you think your marketing, your expertise, even with 3 years experience, do you feel like you're the best person to hire?
I do. I think I'm one of them, right? And I would say, after being nominated for Best of Hancock County, I feel a little bit more inclined to even say yes, right? Because my community is seeing my value. But I do believe that I am one of the top agents. And the reason being, I'm a great listener, I'm a great communicator, I'm a tough negotiator, I'm kind, I'm real. And so yeah, I do think that. And I also am not afraid of feedback. I think that's another really big one because when you're working with different clients, they all have different expectations of you. And so it's really important to go in with an open mind, try not to take things personally, and listen to their feedback. Get better in the future because of it instead of being upset about it. And so I think that, that has helped me evolve really quickly and stay open minded. So
How do you implement getting feedback from your clients?
I ask. Just like anything else, right? Like when I was a leader of 500 people is the same thing, right? Everyone has a different expectation of my leadership. And so I think it's really important to just have an honest conversation and ask like what are some things that you love that I've done? What are some things that I could do better? And be open to whatever that answer is.
Do you and again, I just want to get a little tactical here. Do you actually just like after the closing, like call your clients and have that conversation? Do you send them like a form to fill out? Like, what does that look like? Because I think that's a great. I'm always talking to my clients. I always love that clients become friends after and all that good stuff. And you just again, I've been doing this 17 years. And it just continually grows and grows and grows and snowballs bigger and bigger. But I've never actually physically had a conversation with clients like, "Hey, how was the experience?" Obviously, we ask for reviews. We have a ton of great reviews, but I've never said
Yeah.
like, "What can I actually do better?" So I think that's fantastic, that, especially from an early point. It's probably why you've gotten so far in 3 years. But how do you solicit that feedback? I guess that's the question.
So I think every transaction is a little bit different, right? But I will ask throughout, right? Like let's say it is a seller at the listing appointment, I will ask, like, what are some expectations that you have of me as your agent? Same thing with the buyer, right? I want to know because someone might have like just an off the wall thing that I've never thought of that I could start implementing for them and also clients in the future. And so I ask throughout, but then I also, something that's unique about all of my transactions is that I become friends with these people, like family, right? They invite me to go to dinner on Friday night after we close. And so it really gives me an opportunity to have that open conversation with them versus it being like a client relationship. It's more of a friendship and an open communication line. So I like to think that I give them that opportunity pretty early on to give me feedback and to feel open to give me feedback because then if they are upset about something along the way, I know faster, right? Because I asked. And so that's how I do it and it really works for me. So,
I absolutely love that. That's if if you're listening to this, that'd be something, and I know I'll take that back for myself. Like, I mean, the whole setting expectations at the appointment, I love that. I've talked about that before. But just throughout the
mhm.
process, like, is there anything I can do to that you think I'm dropping the ball, or like do you think somewhere that expectations weren't met? Because people do have like the crazy. That's one thing from thousands of transactions, 17 years of doing this, I will tell you, people will have the craziest, not necessarily expectations, but like reactions to things that like you are doing actually right, but in their
Mhm.
mind, they think it should have been done differently. So that's great.
Well, and I think, the verbiage is so important. Like, what could I have done better? Right? It opens that up where it's like, yeah, maybe I did a great job, but I could have done something better because I'm human. Right? And so opening it up that way, it gives them that opportunity to say really anything they're thinking versus like, you did something wrong already and then say, how could I have done this better? Right? So,
I absolutely agree. I love that. Dude, the vast majority of people tell you, hey, you're doing a great job.
yeah,
That's what
pretty
I would
much.
figure, right? Outside of the, you know,
Yeah.
small amount of clients. But then still, as a newer agent, here's what I love about it. You, and sometimes even experienced agents, like kind of get stuck in their ways of that's the way they do things. But as a newer agent, that's how you ramp up your business within a few years rather than taking 10 years to figure out what actually works and doesn't work, right? So I absolutely love that. That's great advice for any agent that's listening, a real estate professional listening. You could be a mortgage lender, title, attorney, home inspector, doesn't matter if you're listening to this right now. Being able to solicit that feedback is really strong, and just having a conversation about it throughout the process of working with people. So absolutely love that. So let's get to your social media following. So like I said, we have about 27-ish thousand plus cumulative followers and subscribers across Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and YouTube. If we were sitting here we're recording this on June 11th, 2025. If we were sitting here on June 11th, 2024, how many followers did you have across platforms?
Well, I don't know exactly, but I can tell you it was about on Instagram, I know I had like 600. So, TikTok, I had to start a new account a couple months ago. So I started kind of ground zero there. Same thing, really everywhere. We'll call it 600 across platforms.
Okay, guys. So the reason, not only Katie's here because she's successful, but the reason Katie's on this podcast episode right now is, and I tell you guys this every single time, I don't like interviewing people that almost to some degree, not necessarily what I do because I still do the work today, but that sold real estate and had a huge business in 2012 because it's not what the playbook is today. You are listening to someone that is growing something massive that has gone from a handful of transactions to now when Katie and I are talking, we were talking about how to leverage and start a team because there's so much business coming in and has gone from zero following essentially. Right, the 600 was probably like the high school friends, the college
My
friends. Yeah,
family.
exactly. Like
Yeah.
it was
Yeah.
just the people you knew. To now
Yeah.
you have 15,000 fans on Instagram. Right, a brand new, because I remember when we started it, a brand new TikTok account that has over
Hmm.
5,500 followers, well over 100,000 likes on it. A YouTube that you started fresh, brand new, zero subscribers, 4,200 subscribers, and Facebook again, friends, family, whatever. Not much there. So to over 2,000. So now here's where I want to start. Where did you say, okay, personal brand has to be it? Like this is social media is the reason. Like I want to go after social media. Like what made you think that?
Well, I have always loved social media, but I've always just been more of a consumer. And I didn't want it to be that way, but I didn't really know where my place was on the internet, if that makes sense. And so I knew this year something had to change. My second year in real estate was really hard. It was really tough. I had more moments of wanting to quit than not. And so I knew something had to change. And so year three, I was like, you know what? I put it all in on real estate and it seems to be working for me. So I need to put it all in social media because that's the thing that I love. And I love to be creative. I love to have that outlet. And so I started just looking through TikTok, finding like inspiration, things that I loved, things that made me laugh, things that made me stop scrolling. And one of those videos was you. And, immediately I felt like I knew you, I trusted you just from your video. I had never even talked to you in person. And you said a lot of things that resonated with me. And so I remember reaching out to you and pretty much the rest was history. So I decided to go all in and it's really paid off. So,
Absolutely. And so I heard a couple really big things there. You love to be
mhm.
creative and you love social
Yeah.
media. Would you say, because I actually, have some thoughts about it too. Would you say you kind of need to be creative and or you need to love social media to have success with it?
No.
Why not?
Because, well, okay, my opinion might be a little strange on this one, but whenever I take a lot of time to make a video or I feel like I'm getting my creative juices flowing and I'm making this video that takes me an hour, let's call it, I might not get very many views. But then when I get in my car and I'm ranting about my pool, right, last week, almost hits 1 million followers. There was no creativity really in that. that. And so, yes, I guess you need an element of creativity to really understand what hits and what does not hit on social media. But I don't think that you need to be like skilled in that area, if that makes sense.
It makes a lot of sense. So what I'm hearing is you don't need to be, you don't need to be Ryan Gosling, acting level, creativity, artist, right? To be successful on social media, like creativity wise, right? Or like you don't need to be Pablo Picasso in art, right? But you need to, I
Yeah.
think you need to have some energy towards trying to create things. I think that's a little bit of a different, like you want to create something new or you want to put yourself out there in a different way. That's a creative process, I think. But yeah, the strategies that work, I always say social media is kind of like being handy. That's what I was related to. Like when I bought my house in 2020, I probably picked up a hammer 5 times in my life, right? We
Hmm.
bought a house, we got a great deal on it, but part of that great deal on it, like as the pandemic was happening, was it was a house that needed everything. And
Yep.
unfortunately, I should say, unfortunately, we were very fortunate to be able to buy a house at that time. But unfortunately, I didn't know a lick about fixing up a house. And also, we didn't have the money to pay a contractor either. We just got a great deal in a great neighborhood on a big piece of property for our area in the exact location we wanted. It was too good of an opportunity to pass up. So my uncle, my father-in-law, like everybody kind of just helped. We figured things out and we renovated this house. Yeah, I learned a lot of things, right? And now when it comes to like small odds and end things, I know how to do them. Why? Because my uncle, walked me through how to do it. I'm not going to sit there and renovate, a house by any means by myself. That would never happen. But like when stupid
Yeah.
things happen around the house and I need to be handy, I know what I'm doing now. Why? Because someone showed me. That's what I kind of relate social media to. Would you agree with that?
Yes. And I think, it's important to know starting out because I mean, I still struggle with this today, but it doesn't have to be perfect. Like, I think I was almost paralyzed at first because I wanted every piece of content that I put out to be perfect. And I didn't want to make any mistakes. I didn't want to, spell anything wrong or pronounce anything wrong. And I realized as time went on, just be authentic, just be real, just be yourself. You are going to make mistakes along the way. You are going to learn, but you're only going to learn if you do it.
100%. And I've made countless videos about that being one of the biggest issues I think so many people have is the need to be perfect. And I think
Yeah.
it comes down to, and we were talking even before we hopped on here, right, about being on the podcast, like knowing that people are going to be watching or listening to you.
So nerve
It
wracking.
gives you the heebie-jeebies before
Yeah.
you start
Yeah.
because you know that there's going to be a possible response. And let's be real, 90% of the response, like if you're doing well with content, 90% of the response is negative. No one's typically patting you on the back in the comments saying like, wow, what a great video you just made. No, they're being an a-hole to you. So
Yeah.
that holds a lot of people back. Would you agree that that was part of it, like that fear of negativity?
Yes. And I mean, even to this day, I have moments where I'm just like, screw this, excuse my French, but you get hurt or upset because when videos do take off, it is normally because of negativity. It is normally because they want to tell you that you said something wrong or they want to talk about your appearance or something like that. So, it is impossible to always brush it off. Really, it is impossible because we're human. But I think that you develop a thicker skin and you know that every comment, you're going to get another set of eyes looking at your content. And that's just another opportunity for a client, someone that wants to work with me. And so you just have to brush it off as best you can.
It's I literally woke up this morning after getting ready before I was waking the kids up, and I like pull up my phone, I pull up Instagram, and to your point, one comment was I was one of my walkthrough tours. I wear black. If you guys haven't realized yet, I wear black basically every day. One of the comments is, "Isn't black supposed to be slimming?" Another one of the videos I did about town I live in, where all of our companies are, everything, but how it's just a great place to live and like the positive things and how a bunch of young families are trying to move here, prices are going through the roof, and all the great things about it. And one of them was comments was like, "Will you shut your blabbermouth piece of shit mouth up already? You're ruining our towns." And I was like,
Yeah.
I pay taxes here. I employ people here. I live here. I love it here. I am not
And our eyes
I'm like,
twitching.
I am not
Yeah.
exploiting my town. I'm talking about how great it is because I have probably 10 clients that have all reached out to reached out to me from social media about this one town. They want to live there. Like it just, no matter what you do, people will have a negative reaction. So you've gone from zero to now having a massive following. There's been negativity across the way. you do develop a thicker skin, and I love that you continue to push the envelope. Like even the video this week, it might not have seemed like much, but man, what a you tell people having a pool is either a pain in the ass or a waste of money. My lord, you get such
Man,
a
the
reaction.
amount of times that I was called lazy this week is insane, right? So I can do the negative comments. I have gotten, like I said, a thick skin on that. The appearance thing, I have no tolerance for. Blocked immediately, right? It's unnecessary. There's no place for that on my page. But another thing too is I've started to kind of have fun with it. Like I realized that if you say something wrong, if you pronounce something wrong, they are going to fly to the comments to tell you. So there are a lot of times where I'm looking at a house and maybe it has white appliances and I'm looking right at it with my camera and I say stainless steel appliances. People love it. They go crazy. And so I've started to have a little bit more fun with it. And I see a lot more traction on videos where I just purposely say 5 bedrooms when it's four, right? Which is such a silly thing, but it is kind of part of the game.
It's 100% part of the game. Even like when you have text on screen spelling a word wrong, like and
Yeah.
for any of us, like I create a lot in TikTok and then I cross post from there. Like I'll use there, especially if it's talking head video. And some of the names around here, even our county, Monmouth County, like if I don't pronounce it like perfectly, they do Mammoth County. Right? If I leave
Hmm.
Mammoth County rather than spelling out Monmouth County and like fix the captions, people are like, "You're not even from here. You don't even know how to spell it." I'm like, "It's auto captions, jerk
Yeah.
off."
Yeah.
It's and like even like places of businesses, like when I'm doing my green screen videos, so I'm like rattling off left and right. I'm not going through and correcting every single spelling. So like, how dare you spell Mullers without an E? It has an E in there. You just put Muller. It's like holy cow. But
Thanks for the
but
engagement.
that's what's going to be my point, right? Like it's all
Yeah.
about engagement, and this is one thing Katie
Hmm.
has become an expert at is getting people engaged. So she just gave you one of the best hacks I've talked about before, but that you're going to hear, and that is to actually screw up on purpose. If it's Highway 280, call it Route 280, right? Put spelling of the text on the screen, spell a word wrong, right? Have your captions be a little bit wrong. Call something, and I know it sounds like kind of crazy, like, oh, you don't want to do it to an extent of like, hey, today we're located in Wall Township, but really you're 7 counties over in another totally different part of the state. That would be like dumb. But those small things, like Kay said, white appliances say they're stainless steel. It's granite counters and say it's for Mike. I don't know, like just
You open up a tiny little closet, you say walk-in closet.
yeah,
Oh, they're going wild.
yeah, and so I absolutely love that. That's great advice for people too. So, what platform would you say you kind of started your energy on, or was it kind of all four? What let's kind of break that down because I feel like you bucked the trend of, like I said, do one platform at a time. You've grown exponentially on all of them.
Yeah. I think when I first started in my mind, I thought that TikTok was going to be the place for me, right? And so I really focused most of my energy on TikTok. But I actually started blowing up on Instagram. And so I mean, I now I feel like I focus on everything pretty much. I post the same thing on everything, but Instagram really took off for me the most. So,
What was the, because everyone has this moment typically on any social media platform, but especially on Instagram. What was the one video on Instagram that popped off? Because that's typically what happens for people. One video pops off
yeah.
and then the rest is history.
Yeah. So when I first started on social media, I was doing walkthrough tours, but I was doing tours of homes that I thought the viewer would want to see, not necessarily the homes that I would want to buy myself personally. And so, I had this moment where it was like, it's your social media, it's your videos, it's your success. So do the thing that you love and that brings you the happiness. And so I really love old historic homes, questionable, like maybe ghosts, right? And so I went to a home in my area that had been on the market for a little while, super old, super spooky, and that really took off for me. And what specifically took off about that video, I believe, is that number one, everyone loves a good spooky home, and then number two, at the end of the video, I was actually filming my husband walking through the basement, just like as he's my backup, right? And he had a gun on his hip in the video. And the crowd went absolutely wild, right? They were arguing back and forth in the comments about whether he should be able to carry, whether he shouldn't, what's the area like, must be scared. I mean, just people were going insane. And that was not my intention. I didn't even realize. I mean, he always has that gun on his hip. So I never even thought much of it, but it turned into complete insanity. And that was my first video that had 1 million views and still growing, thousands and thousands of comments on there. And that was really the video that was the catalyst for everything.
And so it's a walkthrough tour. You have obviously a super debatable thing, even though it wasn't even intentional by any means.
Didn't know. Yeah.
What was your hook for that, like for that home? Do you remember?
I think it was historic charm or ghosts.
So anytime you have, especially it was a really cool looking house. Like it looked haunted,
Mm,
right? So and now I know, but share with the viewers like what was the next one? Because I think you kind of piggybacked off that one for your next big video, if I remember
yeah.
correctly.
Yeah, so that one really took off, and the house across the street, which was equally spooky, was also for sale. And so I took that as an opportunity to show, the first house, in my opinion, was more beautiful from the outside. And so I did like a transition where it was me in front of the house. And then I said, if you love spooky houses, what about that one? And it flipped to across the street, and I was able to show another, spooky home. And it snowballed.
Yeah, and that's the catalyst for everything you're doing now. So let's break down like
Yeah.
for the listener. We had 1, 2 videos like quote unquote pop off, and we're talking about millions
Mhm.
of views from
Mhm.
having again the 600, 700 followers. Nothing crazy, guys. She didn't have 15,000 for a video to pop off. That's what we love about Instagram right now. We love all platforms because they all kind of took the algorithm from TikTok, which is if you create good content, they are going to show it to more people. And so it's an even playing field. It doesn't matter whether you have my audience, Katie's audience. If you could have 200 followers and you could have 5 followers, you could have 5 million followers, you're still going to, if you create good content, you can grow. And that's a really cool thing about what's happening now. What are the two, three, four, like what are your real estate content pillars? What are things you talk about in your videos, or what types of videos do you shoot that have given you this type of growth in, a few short months?
So, two specifically that pop off all the time is walkthrough tours. Always do really well, and then also local content. So, like just going to the shop or the coffee shop and just featuring a local business and what I love about it. Those have really popped off for me. And then I also love a good, funny one, like a meme or something that's related to real estate. Those are typically the ones that really do well for me.
In terms of local
Yeah.
content, are you going to a business, filming it, doing a voiceover? Are you going to a business, having someone film you, going through it? Are you speaking to the manager? What does that look like for you in your content that's worked?
Yeah. So, my husband is a firefighter, and so he works two on, two off. And so, when I first started this, I was a lot more dedicated to being in the video and just having him do it. And, he expressed to me that's like, okay, every day I'm home, you want to go film, right? And I just want to hang out with my wife. So, I sort of pivoted that a little bit. And sometimes I'm in the video, but sometimes I just go and, I will film like a POV, and then I go home and I do the voiceover, and those tend to do a little bit better for me anyways. And then I'm able to go to the business and actually enjoy it myself, but then get some content along the way. And I have not actually reached out to like the GM or the owner of the business yet, but I did think that that would be kind of a cool idea for like a new series, especially in my county, like just to highlight some local businesses. So I'd love to get into that.
Yeah, no, that's great. So we do kind of like the POV. We kind of walk through. We do a voiceover, and it works. And I agree. I do it all the time myself. And that's for me. It's also about efficiency, right? Like I just go live my life, and I'm
Hmm.
able to take the content with me. Talked about that
Yeah.
countless times with people, right? When you get really busy, especially like where Katie is right now in her real estate career with how many clients she has, it's very hard to also find the time. Even if your husband was like, "Yeah, I absolutely love working for 48 hours and then coming home and then working in your business
For
for
48
48
hours. Yeah.
hours to rinse
Yeah.
and repeat for the
Yeah.
next 4 days." Even if that wasn't the case, right? So it's still a lot more efficient to just go live your life, film as you go, and then cut back and be able to film. But in
And you truly won't be able to keep up if you don't do that. Like
100%.
that's something I learned too is like you have to be able to incorporate this into your everyday life or you will not see this consistency that is going to get you growth.
And I think that was actually going to be my next point is how often do you post, and like for this type of growth, have you ever posted for a month, taken a month off, posted for a week, then took a week off? Obviously things have happened in your life, things have, gone up, gone down, business has flowed, we've had other things. There's been a ton. But
Mhm.
has it been a consistent push, or has it been on off again to get this type of growth?
You know, I am human, and so it has been on off. But what I will say is when we have dedicated, like, okay, I'm going to post every day for the next 30 days, and I actually commit to that, that is when I see rapid growth. Now, right now, like I was talking to you yesterday about this, I had a super busy week. I picked up like 9 new buyers in the last month. And so very active in my car. And so it's really hard for me to find time to do the walkthrough tours. So there are things that happen, but I think that's why it's so important to batch. And that was something that I didn't really see the value of when I first started because it's like, oh, well, it's fun to be on social media and like do this every day. But once you get to a point where you're getting hundreds of DMs, you cannot keep up. So I think it's just really important to batch because consistency is where the rapid growth is.
And when you say the word batch, what do you mean by that?
So I will go out and I will take a couple hours and I will film all my walkthrough tours for at least a week, sometimes two, right? So then I know in one afternoon I was able to get all of that done. As far as like a talking head video or if like I'm giving real estate advice, I normally am driving. I'm driving to a showing and I've got my phone up on the dash and I'm doing that, right? So like I will film a couple of those at the same time. So just making sure that you're filming everything together and then maybe you dedicate an hour or two where you do all your voiceovers. So you have everything ready to go for the next week. It's probably sitting in your drafts, right? It's not like you created it that morning and you posted it. No, I probably created this last week. That has been super helpful for me in staying consistent.
It's absolutely brilliant advice. I talk about it all the time because I do, like, especially for my consumer facing account, like I post almost every day, sometimes twice a day. And a lot of people will say, well, like, one, like, how the hell do you do that? But
Yeah.
realistically, it's not me pulling out the camera and doing it every day. Like, that would never happen. And I mean literally never happen. If you want to have a big business and you also want to grow on social media, and they also feed each other, which is the reality. But what happens for a lot of people is one gets busier, or one gets, like, one starts picking up and then the other one kind of falls off. But to have them congruently growing together is where the magic happens, like it's happening for Katie.
Mhm.
How you make that happen is by sitting down and filming. And also, too, there was something Katie said there that I want to just kind of reiterate, is that time to sit down and get things into your drafts. How many of us, and when I started, I was the same way. How many of us will, like, even edit a video, but not put it into, like, the content with the description, the cover photo, the location, everything tagged, ready to actually just click post and just leave it in our edits. And because we have to actually then get it ready to post, we don't end up posting to stay consistent. I talk about having 3 different times, or really 4. You have your research phase, which if you're doing home tours, that's actually booking out the home tours, right? Your research phase, your actual filming phase, your editing phase, and then obviously your ready to post phase. And if you put those 4 things in your calendar and do them all, like, not at the same time, but each time, you only have to do it like once a week, maybe once every 2 weeks.
And I'm here to tell everyone it works. So once I started implementing that, I was able to, really actually have enough time to do content every day. And I think the other thing that really helped kind of spark me was when we first met. You had challenged me of like, hey, why don't you post every, 5 days a week? Why don't you post 7 days a week? And I was like, I do not have time for that, right? And then being the competitive person I am, you started a challenge within our coaching group and said, hey, everyone post every day for 30 days. And, whoever does that wins. I don't know what you win, but you win, right? And that's all I had to hear. And so I posted for 30 days straight. And what that really did was build confidence in me of like, okay, I do have time to do this, right? When there's a competition involved, I can do it, which means I can always do it. And so that really helped me to propel forward. So, anyone that's listening, I would challenge yourself, try to post every single day for 30 days, prove to yourself that you can do it, and then the rest will be easy.
Yeah, or join us for our, when we start our next challenge.
That's
After
right.
June, we'll probably be doing a social media one for July over the summer, because you can grow so damn rapidly. If you guys are listening to this when it comes out in the middle of June, the summer is when so many agents take a back seat, and it's natural. I have 2 young kids too. My kid's just off; he's gonna be starting he's done with pre-K, he's going to kindergarten. We have a baby. Like, it's just easier to relax a little bit in the summer. We live at the Jersey Shore. This is our time of year to shine.
Yep.
But at the same time, 90% of agents will take a step back during the summer to relax themselves, to relax with their family. There's nothing wrong with that. But that's actually, I say there's 2 great times to grow on social media. It's during the holidays and it's during the summer. And right now, you're coming up on an opportunity where if you're super consistent, And this goes back to when I went all in June of 2023. I didn't pick those months by accident. I knew if I started in the summer and I built consistency while I'm also trying to be selling as many houses as possible and also with my family as much as possible, I can build the habits that will create, the type of lasting effect that it has 2 years later. Again, I run
Mhm.
3 companies, guys. I have 2 young kids. I have a wife. I have coaching clients. I have actual clients. I have agents here at our company, and I still post every day. How? By batch filming. It's really that simple. It's the only way how. I don't hire a videographer. Katie doesn't have a videographer. She said she had her husband originally helping her to film her, but now that doesn't have to be, right? So we have home tours, we have local content, we have some other fun stuff between memes and lip syncs and
Mhm.
different things like that we're
Mhm.
doing that are super
Mhm.
engaging, super funny, more of a creative outlet for you. Let's talk about home tours. Because that's been a huge driver of growth for you. And I think that's one of the
Yeah.
best ways to get actual clients. What does your home tour process look like? Like, literally give us, like, we go to the house, how we film it, to coming back and editing and voicing over, how, like, what that process looks like, to now posting and
Sure.
automating the hundreds, if not thousands, of comments that come your way on your home tours.
Yeah, that's a loaded question. So, I show up to the house, go in, orient myself, right? Turn on all the lights, try to open up all the windows, make sure everything's lit up as possible. And then I, in my mind, think about the best way to kind of flow through the house. I think that's really important. I like to. My mentor once told me, like, even when you're looking at pictures online for like for a listing, you want to make it like front, back, kitchen, like you want to have the stunners, right? Right at first. So I like to go to the best parts of the house first, so it kind of engages that listener really quickly. So walk through the house, I do one vertical, I do one horizontal, and then I will find like my favorite parts of the house and I will film a little bit of B-roll. So that just helps me to have, reels. Then I'm able to have long form on YouTube. Then I'm also able to have some B-roll for, just various content. And then, like I said, I will film 3, 4, 5 houses in one afternoon. I go home. The next day, normally, I will start to edit all of those videos, right? So I speed them up. That's another great tip is, if everyone loves that 2x speed, make sure you're 2.5 because that's just going to make everybody upset. They're going to go to those comments and tell you about it. And that's a great way that I've found to drive people to YouTube actually is when, let's say you post a reel on Instagram and it's too fast, they want to tell you about it in the comments. I always say, hey, just check out my YouTube channel. There's a slower version there. And so that has driven a lot of people to my YouTube as well. But anyway, so I will take a day, I will edit everything, I will do the voiceovers. I pretty much I guess I should start separating it out after what you said, but I will edit, do voiceovers, and put it in my drafts all in one day. And honestly, when you first start out, it takes a lot longer, but you do get faster at it and you realize that it's okay if there's one mistake in there, just keep it in there, right? See if someone catches it and it might just be some extra engagement for you. So I do that. And then I typically post in the morning just that way I don't have to think about it throughout the day. I know it's posted and I can just spend the rest of my day being me. So I will post and then I also automate. So on Instagram specifically, I use mini chat and basically you will comment info on my post and it will automatically DM you. It will ask you for your email or your phone number. And then I have this is so complicated for me. I can't even believe I'm talking about it. So tech savvy. So mini chat will actually send it to Zapier and Zapier puts them in my CRM, puts them on a drip, and then sends them that listing. So we have really in the last couple months worked on that because before I had automation, I was pulling my hair out. And I think you remember that. But as I've automated the steps, it just made my life so much easier. And I'm starting to capture a lot more leads by putting them in my CRM immediately, having them on a drip. They don't forget about me. And so I've seen a lot more success because of that.
It's a phenomenal rundown, and it was a very loaded. It
Is
was it
it?
was a loaded
Okay.
question, but you
I
just did an
know.
unbelievable job describing from top to bottom exactly what Katie does. And I hope every single listener just took to heart that process. And like she said, she just picked up 9 buyers. She's already closed a whole bunch of deals this year. And the reality is, this is only really the of what this becomes. Like I said, what happens for a lot of people, and it's a lot of people that I've coached and I've seen, is you turn the edge and then the faucet comes on. Now we are capturing and converting a lot more leads because you could have all the viral posts, you could have all the followers, you could have everything in the world, But if you don't capture and convert those leads, it is for nothing. I think a lot of people get lose focus with the on the social media side of things, trying to blow up on social media. I don't really like. There's people that I know, even agents here at our company with a couple hundred followers that have closed, I don't know, 7, 8 deals at an average price point of $800,000 from social media. You don't necessarily need all the following. Following and eyeballs mean a bigger top of funnel for you. But if you don't convert, it means nothing, right? So Katie's kind of perfected this system of taking people from a walkthrough tour to giving them the information and pulling them into her CRM, reaching out to them, all using AI and automation rather than Katie actually picking up the phone and or DMing 700 people that might comment something on one of her walkthrough tours. That's some really powerful stuff, and I hope every single person not necessarily has to buy into it. That's their choice for their business, but
Yeah.
it could be a very, very fruitful activity for you, and how to automate it makes your life a lot easier, right?
When I remember a couple months ago, we were on a coaching call and you had said, it's that riches embarrassment. I think that's what you called it. And I was experiencing that because I was having so many leads in my DM, I didn't know what to do with them, and I was not converting them because it was so many leads. And so I was seeing the success, but for what? Right. And so I think it's really important to get the system down once I actually focused on the system, which technology is not my best friend. I'm not like the most technology savvy person, right? And so that was really a big hump for me. But once I got over that, then I was able to actually engage with the people that were reaching out to me. And that's a much better feeling, even if you had 10 that you can reach out to versus 1,000 that you can't. So, yeah, it's just important to get your system down.
100%. And it's funny because as we went through building your systems, you would constantly mention how not tech savvy you are, and you just gave every single listener of this, at least 500, maybe 1,000 people, you just gave them a rundown of how tech savvy you can be even when you're not a tech savvy person. uh
It probably didn't sound very tech savvy,
I mean,
but I'm
that
learning.
was a phenomenal. We had many chat to Zapier to your CRM,
Yeah,
and yeah, that was great, and it shows it's like being handy, guys. Once someone shows you how to do it, it changes everything for you. Technology,
absolutely.
AI, automation, social media, content is not rocket science. Anybody, I don't care what you look like, what you sound like, all that matters is consistency and knowing what makes people tick. If you can figure out how to be consistent and make people tick, you will do just fine. You will grow and you will get clients and absolutely crush it with social media. So I hope everyone takes
Mhm.
to heart all the lessons Katie has given us on social media. A few more questions before we wrap up, Katie, if that's okay.
Yeah, of course.
I'm actually going to put this one in both ways because you've grown so much on social media. I want you to give all of our listeners one piece of advice to either a brand new agent or an agent that's struggling. Let's first do just real estate business in general. Like, what would be your one piece of advice for a new real estate agent or someone who's struggling about real estate?
Okay, so I would give a brand new agent a different advice that I would give a struggling agent. So I'm just gonna hit both. For the brand new agent, a couple things. I think number one, no communication is too much. There's no such thing as too much communication. I think it's so important to bring your clients along, right? I think it's very easy early on, especially to not know everything and feel uncomfortable to have these conversations, but it is so important to communicate with your clients at all times. So that's one thing. And then the other thing is that, every transaction is going to be emotionally charged a little bit, right? Like for the seller and for the buyer, it's a huge purchase. And so there are a lot of emotions. And when I first started, it was hard for me to understand that or not take that personally. So I think it's really important to know it is going to be emotional for your client. So you want to make sure that you are that steady, that even keel. You don't allow your emotions to get entangled with theirs and you don't take anything personally. So that would be and don't spend $40,000 on a boat. That is my advice for a new agent. Struggling agent, I would say, if real estate has taught me anything, it's when you're up, and when you're down, you're down. So know that it comes in waves and keep your head down, keep hustling, and the success will come.
I like that. And now, what would be your one piece of advice to someone starting out in the content side of things on social media?
I would say people are going to judge you. That's okay. Be yourself. Try to be as authentic as possible. and know that you are going to make mistakes along the way. And that is the only way that you're going to learn and be better.
I'm gonna break. I usually wrap it up with the last question, but I'm gonna give you a follow up question because you
Okay.
brought up something that we hear all the time: be authentic. How does Katie, in your mind, show up authentically to her audience?
I would say, well, first, it's hard. Every day it's hard to show up authentic, but I think the best way is just to practice, to know that when you're watching other content creators, it may seem curated and some of them may be curated, but I think the more raw, the more real, the more that you can kind of talk like this is your best friend, not like this is 15,000 strangers that are watching me right now. I think that helps. And then I think also once you start to gain a following, there will be people that reach out. Like, this is such a cool story. I had a lady that started following me on YouTube. She does not live in Indiana, but she watches all my videos. And she actually went to a birthday party with all of her friends. And she had my YouTube pulled up on her iPad and they all took a picture around my YouTube. So, like, that was such a special moment for me because that is someone I don't know who believes in me, who loves my personality online. And so that helps me to be more authentic because I realize there are people out there that love me for me. So, as you continue to do it, it becomes easier to be yourself.
I totally agree, and I always ask my clients that, especially from social media, like, you know, and now it's just if the numbers are so insane that it's probably lost its effect. But some of the earlier ones, I'd say, well, why'd you call me from TikTok? Like, I'm being
Yeah.
honest. Like, you're 58 years old. I'm 35. Like, you called this guy
Yeah.
from TikTok. Like, why? Because I want to know what's like really actually making it work. And I would say the first 10 people I asked that question to, their answer was the exact same. Because you say fuck, shit. Hopefully, you don't have your kids listening to this right now. If you do, I have the explicit warning on.
Not safe for
Yeah.
kids. Yeah.
But because I curse in some of my content, not all of it, I don't drop it. Like, if you've been listening to this podcast, I don't drop it every single word. It's not like, I don't get like arrogant about the fact that I curse. But if I'm talking about something and I'm passionate about something, sometimes it will happen. And I don't take it out in my content if it does. And I would say the vast majority of people that say they hire me or reach out is because of that, right? And
Yeah.
that's, again, in front of my 5-year-old and my 5-month-old, am I dropping F-bombs, on purpose? Not always. Does it happen accidentally? Maybe. But I'm not sitting there doing it all the time in my life. But
Right.
that's sometimes how I am. That's part of the vernacular here in New Jersey. If I'm in the Bible Belt, I'm probably not doing that, right? Probably not the same thing. But it is who I am. It's how people talk here. And that's why a lot of people reached out to me. They're like, you're no bullshit. That's who you are. Like, you're this
Yeah.
guy who just picks up his phone, talks to it, gives advice, talks about what's great about the area, does home tours, raw, real, and authentic. And we wanted to reach out to you, right? And so I absolutely love that. We have one more question left, and this has been a phenomenal interview. I'm so I'm so glad you came on the podcast, but so happy about the fact that I think everybody got at least 5 to 10 great tactical things to do after this
I hope
episode.
so.
And with the number 10, last question. You get to meet 10-year-old Katie. You guys go to a playground. She's sitting on the swing next to you. You get to look at that little girl, get into conversation with her. What's one thing, and let's try to keep it to one thing. What's one thing you tell that little girl?
Well, hey, girl. First of all, I think I would just tell her that the world is wide, the possibilities are endless. Do what makes you happy, work hard, and you're going to be successful no matter what.
Absolutely love that. So that's fantastic. And this has been an unbelievable interview. Katie, how can people find you on social media?
So if you Google Katie Hoskins Realtor, you will find everything there is to know about me. So
What are your handles on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, and
Katie Hoskins on
okay,
everything.
perfect.
Hmm.
And you're in Central Indiana. Give us
Yes, sir.
give us a point of reference. So if someone has a referral for you, or I know you said the county name, but like, where are we in relation to like a major city in Indiana?
Yeah, so Indianapolis is right smack dab in the middle of Indiana, and I'm about 30 minutes east of that. So Hancock County is where I live, but I service all of central Indiana. So
Okay, absolutely. So if anyone has a referral for Central Indiana, you now have your
yeah, send them my
you
way.
now have your girl, Katie. This has been a great interview. Thank you for joining us on Getting Real.